Hey everyone, welcome to Stuff I Never Learned from a Schoolbook. If you're looking at the gray beard, that means it's Monday, 7 p.m. Central, 8 Eastern, 6 Mountain, 5 Pacific, 2 out in Hawaii. I think we're now at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning or 5 a.m. tomorrow morning out in Indonesia, and about 9 a.m. to noon out in Australia. Welcome to everybody who normally shows up. For the new people, welcome to the show. Hope you enjoy the show tonight. My name is Tom Springer, and I am the host of this show called Stuff I Never Learned from a Schoolbook. And as usual, I do have on a fantastic guest. I've had her on before, but she was so amazing the first time that we had to have her back on a second time, which means I'm probably going to have her on a third time and a fourth time and everything else too, because she's so awesome. And I know personally, my wife follows her and listens to her every morning. So I know that she's just an outstanding person because I listen as well. So without any further ado, let me go ahead and bring in Kelli Miller and say hello. Hi, Kelli. How are you?
Hi. I'm doing fabulous. Doing fabulous.
So as you know, everyone's already popping in to say hi. Some are from my side of the neck of the woods. And I'm already seeing a lot of names I don't know. So they must be from your side of the house. So
Yeah.
they're popping in to say hi.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have a whole line of people that are coming in to say hi. Primal Cry's coming in as well to say hi. So hi, Primal. How's everyone doing? How's everyone doing today? Hopefully your weekend was good and your day so far, you survived a Monday, because I know that Mondays can be hectic for a lot of people for a lot of reasons. But anyways, how have you been? I know that you just recently got back from a vacation.
Yep. I had just a mini vacation. It was one of those that it was just kind of a mini getaway just to kind of get a break and get rebounced and recentered a little bit. So
Yeah.
Eric and I just got back from Clearwater just a couple days ago. So
Very nice.
yeah, the tickets were cheap and the hotel rooms were cheap. So we thought, let's just try it. And that I've never been there before. So Eric has, but I can see why Eric really, really likes it. So
Right. Yeah, it's really nice. So,
yeah.
So a lot of beach time down there, or did you guys do a lot of shopping, or did you guys do a lot of everything?
A lot of beach. Yeah, it was one of those that just to be able to be outside where the weather's nice and to be able to ground. Hey, we were good. That's what we needed.
And Rhonda's already coming up with a question asking you if you've moved to a new store. Did you get moved to a new store?
That's a great
story
question.
Time.
Because I have to discuss this because I did a video probably 3 weeks ago asking my followers to help me out so I can get somebody to lease the building that we're currently in. So turns out that Eric and I did all the legwork. We put in an offer basically on a new place and we got denied in 15 minutes. 15 minutes, that quick. And right away, I'm like, whoa, that's not just a no, that's a hell no. And I'm going to take that for what it is. So we backed away immediately. And I'm like, you know what? Something else is brewing. Something else is brewing. So it was the next day. And I can't quite say what exactly, but our landlord talked to us and there might be some people that want to move next door to us. So we might be taking over their spot. If they move, and then there may be another spot available upstairs. So it turns out that we're going to have the same square footage of what we wanted. It's going to be cheaper and we don't have to move.
So not only is it next door, it's actually connected to your current one. Yeah. So it's not like it's another building next door. We're just going to knock down the wall. Right. It's not like it's another building next door altogether. It's connected in the same building. Yeah. So that's awesome.
I know. So it's just like, my mom even said, she's like, you are the epitome of one door closing and another opening. I'm like, like, I just know how the game's played, Ma.
Yeah. So. Yeah, that's awesome. So before we get too far into it, I'm going to show your information really quick, just so everyone has it. And I'm going to post it over in the comments. Hopefully everyone can see my comments because we have people coming in from Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. So hopefully I can see everyone's messaging. You can see everyone's messages where they're coming from, but the guests can only see what they're logged into. Oh, you can't see them?
No, okay. I can't see anything.
Oh, I thought you could. So
I can once in a while. One will beep up, but
okay. So I'll be sure to make sure when comments come in because right now I'm posting them as you're talking, kind of like this underneath. That's what I'm posting underneath.
Okay, now I can see that.
Yeah, I actually have a side of them I actually have a bunch of them on the side that I'm reading through. But people who are on Facebook can only see the people who are on Facebook. People from YouTube can only see the messages coming from YouTube. So that's why I'm posting them on here so everyone can see them. And from Twitch. Joe is saying you have a really good energy. Yes, she does. She is outstanding. And my wife is agreeing. She's saying she's amazing. I would have to totally agree with this. I'm a little biased, because, I know you and I like you a lot. So, but let me go ahead and throw this up really quick. So what has this information? Here's a whole bunch of information right underneath me. I will copy and paste this into the comments so people can have access to it as well. Now, let's go over this. First of all, you have a Facebook site. And you can go out to the Facebook site, and you have a puppy. And you have a Facebook site. You can go out there, and it's absolutely fantastic. You can go to the site. You can kind of read through everything that you're doing. You also have your own website, which is a very cool website because it has all your offerings as well. It talks about what you do, what's out there that people can connect to you with, and everything else. It's kind of your own personal. Here's everything that's going on, and here's how you can contact me. And here, if you need anything from me, here's what I offer, type of thing. You also do a YouTube. I'm used to that. You also have a YouTube one, and if you go to the YouTube one, there's a lot of. That's the one I believe that Nikki listens to because she listens to all your past podcasts, basically. And there's also videos on there for when you did your shows, like for audiences and everything else. That's really cool to watch. And then, of course, last but not least is the Awakening Store. And you would now have 5 of them. Am I correct? 5 stores, because your last one that you opened up was in Arizona?
Yep, Phoenix, Arizona.
Yep. So now there's 5 Awakening stores. So now you're nationwide. We can say that, nationwide. And just so folks know, because I'm going to put this early so you can go out and take a look at it. Right now, your Awakening store is offering 20% off of pink tourmaline and pink quartz.
Rose quartz,
Rose quartz, yes. And on Thursday, people, go out to this Awakening store site right there, and you can actually find this. But on Thursday, you're doing an exotic crystals, gems type of show on Facebook. You're not doing it, but Eric is doing it, your husband, because he has all the knowledge in his head for everything. But you can actually go out there, and I would advise you folks to go out to this link right here, theawakeningstore.com. Go out there, click on it. It'll take you to a site where you can click that you're interested or you're going, so you will get your reminder, so you won't forget about it, because that's going to be a pretty big show. That's all their really, really, really good exotic stuff. So make sure you guys are doing that. So there's all that stuff. I covered all that for now. So let me go out here. And if you would, please do a little introduction to yourself for those people who didn't see you last time because they're terrible and didn't come on the show to watch. No, just kidding. But while I go ahead and post all this. So
I am a retired psychic medium. I was doing readings for almost 10 years. I was also doing a live tour, going anywhere as far as like Chicago to Denver to Kansas City, up to Minneapolis and stuff like that, doing live audience readings as well. So I've retired from that so I can focus more on teaching and focus more on helping out the next generation of psychic mediums. Because when I was going through this, I realized that there wasn't a lot of really good teachers. And a lot of the teachers didn't want to give away the goods, so to speak. And I think that at this point, it's my purpose more is to help teach that next generation, because a lot of them didn't really give you the meat and potatoes to it, Right. And they really kind of fluffed it, where I came up with a program called Enlightenment Academy that really takes you from when you're seeing 1111 and what that all means, all the way to how do I turn my purpose into a business. Right. So, and I could tell you from real world experience what to do and what not to do, and how to read people with morals and ethics, how to do it the right way, the wrong way, all that good stuff. So, but teaching really is my passion anymore. I love it. So that's why I just recently retired last March. So now I'm really focusing in on doing more videos, blogs, books. I'm actually halfway into doing a tarot card deck as well. So I got lots of stuff on the burner here. So
yeah, sounds like it.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's another thing is, that's besides being an awesome person, that's also one of the reasons I have you on my show is because you're a teacher. And a lot of people know that the reason I do stuff I learned from a school book is because it was initially designed for people who were like me, who are new to their awakening and didn't have anywhere to turn and didn't have anyone to talk to, and this built the community up for it. So people like you to come on here and talk about this is absolutely right on line. Yeah. You saw the new intro, so we kind of have a bunch of everything here now. Yeah. Besides what we just started with, but I think it's important to do that because everybody And anything, cryptids, star seeds, anything people have questions about.
They
So
do.
it's
They
important to
do.
have a community
And I
that
think
people can ask questions.
I think a lot of people have their own opinions about it too, and which is great. But general consensus, we all kind of see everything the same. We really do. So
yeah.
yeah.
Joe posted on there. So many light workers in this upcoming generation, they seem to have innate knowledge. So yeah,
They do.
outstanding.
They really
sure
do.
And Lori is suggesting that we do a field trip dig to some of our own locations with the group. So just saying. That's out loud, but so we're in. So so your latest and greatest is your store down in Arizona, and I'm going to go ahead and start jumping guns early because I know you're also, as you just talked about, trying to get the attached area to yours. Do you and Eric are already starting to look at anywhere outside for another store to place?
So we are the first metaphysical business to actually franchise. So we franchise. So we own it, but we own more the name. We have individual people that actually own those businesses. So we're kind of like the overseers, if you want to. But Eric and I, our other passion is we love helping entrepreneurs. We love it. We love to watch Shark. What is it?
Oh yeah, Shark Tank.
Shark Tank. Thank you.
Yeah.
So we love to watch that on TV as well. So we love to help those entrepreneurs, and that's why we came up with the franchise. The hardest part actually about doing the franchise wasn't necessarily getting the trademark or anything like that. Believe it or not, the federal government didn't know what category to put us in because they've never had it before. And so they were asking us, well, what category? I'm like, that's your guys' job.
Right.
Like, we don't know. So they ended up putting us in the category of a bookstore because they really didn't know. So, but once we got that, we were kind of off and running. So, but right now we've got a couple leads, but at this point we have now hired a franchise person to help us out because we didn't know much about business brokers, all that stuff. So we gotta figure all that out. So we hired somebody to be able to help us out with all of that information.
Right. Yeah. So you're the epitome of that commercial when the person was like, well, I don't want to run my business. I just want to, I don't want to have to take care of the money and all the legal stuff. I just want to run my business. So you're like the epitome of that commercial that's out there.
Right. Yes.
And Nikki and I were talking, so Nikki's birthday was Saturday. Just so you know, and we went down to Old Market. And for people who don't know, Old Market is a location here in Omaha, and it's really good restaurants, some really eclectic type shopping.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
It's good vibes. It really is.
Yeah, it's really good vibes. But we were surprised that there's not a store, like a metaphysical store, down in the Old Market somewhere. There seems like to be the prime place to put one.
Yeah. There used to be, and that never it didn't last very long. So Eric and I we're kind of keeping our eyes peeled for that. We don't want anything super, super big down there, but if it falls in our lap, it falls in our lap. Yeah. But we're looking at 1,000 square feet, maybe 1,500 square feet. Yeah. If we're able to get something down there, great. But we're keeping our eye open.
Yeah, because we were thinking that when we were down there. So we're like, wow, that's
there isn't anything really there.
Nothing. We walked through a couple of the stores that were down there by the underground passageway.
Yeah.
And they have some stuff in there.
There's one. She's got a little bit there.
Yeah, but not a whole lot. There's not a full metaphysical store like yours where that would fit perfect down there.
Yeah.
A couple of questions coming in. Melanie Stark asks, "How do you know you're a starseed?"
I will tell you that everybody wants to feel special, so I'm going to tell you that everybody's a starseed. So, and we are. We're interbred, if you want to think about it that way. Not all of us, for the most part. We want to, like, some people might be Palladian and other people might be Arcturian. Right. But I think everybody is a starseed, especially if you're enlightened. And I think starseed light worker is just a term for people that are enlightened, that are still trying to maybe figure out what their purpose is here. So, but I'm not big on titles because that's an egoic thing. Right. I just think that it's basically somebody who's enlightened, trying to figure out what their purpose is and trying to figure out, they know that they're connected to God source energy, but who else am I connected to out here? Because
Right.
I don't feel like it's a very, when you go through an awakening, it is a lonely process, and you do feel alone. You start to look around after you put boundaries up and you're like, am I the only one that's freaking logical and normal around here or what? So it really does make you feel that way. So a lot of us are like, okay, if I'm a starseed, then where do I belong? So it's a sense of belonging, especially when you're at that, phase where you just put up boundaries and you've kind of walked away from the unenlightened people in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's interesting that you say that, because I actually just went out to someone who I was introduced to who does, who will read your sorry about that, a little loud, but who will read your star seeds, let you know where you're from. And I actually recently found out that I have 8 different locations, I guess, and it doesn't mean I'm a star seed from all of them. Some of it says I have I have karma, I have karmic energy from one location, I have DNA from one, my soul resonates from one location, like my primary location. So it doesn't mean you're from all of them. It just means that you have certain ties to them in some form or another.
Correct.
Melissa is asking, if our loved ones are reincarnated, then are they no longer in heaven?
Here's where it becomes quantum.
Right?
So this is it gets quantum quick. So understand that we all have an oversoul, or like a soul, like the pinnacle of our soul. So you have to remember, our previous lives, our past lives, they're all happening right now. So that's where we got to think more quantum, not linear. Right. So I can still talk to somebody even though they may have reincarnated. So I can still talk to grandpa even though they reincarnated as the grandson. Yeah, I can still, because I'm talking to their oversoul. I'm talking to that the soul that's connected to God source energy. So, and I often ask my students, I said, have you ever really thought about, it's the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. Have you ever thought about what the Holy Ghost is? I think that's our higher selves. That's our connection to that.
True. Yeah. Yeah. And that's interesting because this conversation came up with Nikki and I, because she has a grandmother who she never feels. And my first thought process was, well, she already reincarnated.
Right. That's very possible.
So maybe that's why you're not feeling her, because she knows that she was here when she felt that maybe you still needed protected, but then she realized you have enough protection around you with other people that are still there. And now I'm here as well. So the physical side of it is protected. The spiritual side is protected by those who have also crossed over. So she just felt like she can reincarnate and go on and she'd be perfectly fine. Yep. But that doesn't mean she still can't reach out to her and ask questions.
Right. That's exactly. That's what I always tell people, just ask them to give you a sign. You'll see that they're still around. They are.
And she's like, I tried talking to her, but I never hear from her. And then that was kind of the conversation was, well, maybe we're not asking the right questions, or maybe we're not looking in the right directions.
And a lot of them are like, well, I want to hear her talk. I'm like, well, maybe clairaudient, or the ability to hear, isn't your ability. Maybe it's more clairvoyance. Maybe it's more clairsentient. Maybe you should feel them or see them, not hear them. So it depends on your own natural psychic ability that you have.
Or maybe that's not the way that they want to communicate with you.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, they may have a different way. They're like, you know what? I don't want you to hear me. I want you to pay attention and see something that will remind you of me. So perfect. I got to skip through all the happy birthday Nikki's. There's a bunch of them on there. Joe, happy birthday to your daughter. I'm not going to try to say the name because I don't know how to pronounce that. I know you want me to, but I'm not going to. But happy birthday to your daughter. Nikki's also saying thank you to everybody else. Nikki is saying, okay, Kelly, Tom, and I have had discussions on what you have said about hell. Can you explain?
So I think it's a human constraint for the most part, but here's the deal. Does such place exist? Yes, because human consciousness created it. So yes. But do we stay there very long? No, we don't. We're down there. We're like, all right, God, my bad. Can I get a mulligan? So,
and I have both sides of that, because, I have the internal damnation, burning in hell for all, despite what you ask for and everything else. But I had someone at one point, and this is a very interesting conversation, and they hated me for it because I am very good about, excuse the pun, playing devil's advocate, because they said, well, I don't believe in hell. But then they went on to talk about God. And I went, hold on a second. you can't have one without the other. That's your yin yang. That's your dark light.
That's duality.
You can't
That's
have
right.
that. And they're
That's
like, no, I can believe in God, but not in hell. I'm like, no, you can, but you'd be mistaken.
Right. But that's why, because on earth, duality exists. It doesn't exist in heaven, but it does exist here. So yes, it does to a point. Yes.
And I told some people, for some people, their belief that hell is not an eternal damnation is more like a purgatory where you go serve out a sentence and then you're released from it and you're kind of put on parole to make sure that you continue,
well, in a way, that's what karmic debt is. So yeah, to a point.
Exactly. So yeah, so these are conversations. That's kind of the same things that we have discussed too. And Nikki and I had these conversations because of conversations that she listens to you. She listens to your
Q&As.
Yeah. Well, she listens to your podcast, and then she comes out to me and she goes, "Okay, so here's what Kelli said," and I'm like, "Okay." So then I'm like, "Okay," and then she always asks me if I agree or disagree or have other thoughts. And for the most part, even from the beginning of the conversation, like you said, we all kind of have the same beliefs. Just some things are twisted.
Right.
And it doesn't mean they're wrong or right. It just means they're different. And
that's right. And to each their own. I mean, if that's your truth, then who am I to tell you that you're wrong? That's what if that's your truth. That's your truth.
Actual proof of it at this point.
Right. Right. Exactly.
And it's funny because you and I seem to run a lot on the same levels. But I do let her know the other sides of things I've heard as well. So so I don't just give her a one and done. I give her options as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. Primal Christ coming in with she received that information as well. This is for the Starseeds, and she has 11 locations. So Kelli, are the original non-modified dogmen from Sirius?
Quite possibly, yeah. Yeah. It's that Sirius is a weird dimension. It's a weird place anyway. So I'm gonna say that it feels correct to me. That like it hit me right. So I'm gonna say yes, because that does feel right to me.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I just read the question. I'm like, oh, this is going to be a good one for you to answer. I just didn't know how it would go.
I would agree with that. I think it does. Yeah.
Lori is saying, I have had a big change in being able to catch scents recently. Yesterday of German ring bologna, and thought I know that's how it's spelled correctly. I'm just saying it both ways because I've heard it both ways. And thought of my deceased dad as the old German meat market was in town he grew up in. Well, yeah. So, exactly.
Yep. So that is it. A lot of psychic abilities, especially in March, got heightened. We had so many solar flares that we were very heightened. Our sensitivities were, and I think that it opened up a lot of things, and I think it's going to remain open. I don't think we're necessarily going to kind of go back. I think it's going to continue to. Everybody's going to get more abilities as we keep going on. So, but that's called clairgustance, which is the ability to taste or smell. And that's an actual psychic ability. And oftentimes what happens, it kind of hits you out of nowhere, but then your imagination hits you just as quickly, but your imagination is your intuition. Yeah. So that's why I'm like, I would say that absolutely would have been a sign from her dad.
Yeah. It's tying into something.
Absolutely.
It's a reminder for a reason.
Yep.
Yeah. And the fact that you talk about that our abilities are probably going to keep moving forward or growing because of this intrigues me, because I am always one that wants to know more. But I am a self-proclaimed very, very lazy person, so I actually don't do the research, put in the work. I just seem to know stuff. And it has been said it is said because my pasts are so in depth that they go on forever and ever that it's just natural for me to do stuff now. But I'm still learning new abilities just by opening my eyes and looking or just talking. It's weird how fast they come on and how prevalent they are.
And I'll tell you that you and I hold the ability. It's called claircognizant. It's the ability to know. We don't know how we know. We just know. Yeah. And oftentimes that's because of our previous lives and remembering what we've learned in those previous lives. And so it's harder for us because we're naturally very logical, philosophical.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more difficult for us to kind of accept the clairvoyant, the clairaudient, because we're like, prove it.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we get smacked in the face enough that we're like, all right, we get it. Like,
Right.
all right,
Yeah.
we get it. So,
Yeah.
but everybody's abilities are going to continue to get heightened, especially between about March 1st is when it kind of started. And it's going to continue until almost about the 4th of July.
Ooh.
So, and then things are going to even out a little bit. And then we're going to have a lot of changes about that mid-October point. So, but I think that's why I've been really big right now telling people, make sure that you ground. And a lot of people don't seem to understand that you can work on your throat chakra and your third eye and your crown chakra. But if you don't balance your root chakra out, you aren't going to be able to function very well. You're going to have headaches. You're going to be dizzy. Even into migraines, you'll be discombobulated, airheaded. You'll be, skipping words. But that's why I've been telling people, make sure that you're well grounded. Your root chakra is what you need to focus on, because if you think about it, the root chakra is a lot like a basement. You store crap down there. You store emotions down there. You just stuff it. And if you don't keep that open and balanced, you can keep working on your intuitive abilities, but your emotions are going to block those. So if you don't really get to the root cause of the issue at hand or the trauma at hand, you really can't move forward, because that's all deals with that root chakra. So I've been really encouraging people to ground so they can at least try to function on the days when we have huge solar flares and geomagnetic storms and Schumann spikes and everything else going on.
I'm starting to take that message about my root chakra to heart and personal, because you're the second person today that I've heard it from. So apparently this is a message for me as well, because I'm terrible about, I've heard a couple of things. I've heard that I need to ground, and I've heard that I'm always grounded. So I really don't need to ground too much.
Well, and there's some truth in that, because guys are naturally, they're natural to have their root chakra, sacral, and solar plexus open and stronger than most women. Most women hold their throat, their third eye, and their crown harder, and we meet in the heart. That's why when you have man and woman together, they usually balance each other out really well. Now, it doesn't matter if you're gay. There's always one butch one in the gay, if you're gay. So that's going to be the masculine one. So that's how we balance out. I mean, you don't need a partner to balance, but it does help to work with your chakra system and your meridian lines and everything else to really help kind of keep you balanced. So guys are a little bit more naturally grounded in that area. But if an enlightened guy, like Eric can ground me a little bit, but believe it or not, my son grounds me better. So.
Yeah, that was totally lost my train of thought right there. But yeah, that was something that I was told before, that was that my I'm sorry, I'm gonna go back to that. So that's the other person was talking about, that the reason that we're having a problem, that we need to make sure our root chakra is so clear or is ready to go, is because so many people focus on their third eye that they don't realize that it has to be a balancing act throughout. And this is not the only one, or the crown or anything else. You actually got to start with the root, because that's the root of everything. Which is why it's called the root.
Yeah.
And then
and it's the same with that Kundalini rising. I mean, it's got to hit all it's got to flow.
Yeah.
And if you're just focusing on one chakra, you're obstructing that flow. And a lot of people, if you really want it super bad, you're obstructing the law of attraction anyway. So just what I tell people is, I'm like, practice on what you already know, perfect what you already know, and it will put you in a place of allowance for those abilities then to get kind of kicked back on.
Right. There are a couple of questions, but I want to ask one really quick before I go to Melanie's, simply because hers is written down and I can see hers. Mine, I know I'll forget because I don't have it written down. So I just want to ask it really quick, because I ask, just so people know, I ask questions because, again, I am self-proclaimed lazy and I don't do the research. So I ask other people that
That's all right.
the blanks. Can people like us, and I just mean just in general, lose their abilities? Not because they're shutting them down on purpose, because they're afraid of what the world's saying or anything else, but can they lose them? Can they come and go can they leave just as easy as they showed up?
Anymore, no, they can't, because the collective energy right now is such a higher vibration that no. But if you feel like you're kind of tapped out or not connected, it usually is because your reality needs to get fixed. It's usually because you got some damn drama that you need to stomp out and take care of.
Okay.
And once that gets taken care of, then all of a sudden you feel like your abilities kind of get turned back on. So, but I always tell my students this too, is that you got to remember your reality will always take precedence over your spirituality because you chose to be here. So having that privilege to be able to do that is exactly that. It's a privilege. Okay. So, but you chose to be here in this time, space, reality, and that includes School of Hard Knocks and lessons to be learned. And if you need to learn a lesson, or you need to make a pivotal move, or you need to do something, those abilities kind of dwindle a little bit, or you feel like, hey, my spirit guides were behind me. Now all of a sudden they're gone. They bailed on me when I need them the most. I'm like, it's because they can't interfere with you making that decision. Okay. Because that would affect your free will. So that's a big no-no. Nobody has the right to affect your free will. Therefore, they'll start to kind of back away.
Okay. I just didn't know, because I'm like, cool, I have all these awesome abilities that I've developed over the last year and a half.
Yeah.
What happens? So
yeah.
I haven't had them. I haven't had them paper.
Exactly.
So, because I'm excited about them. So
I know that when I was 19, I asked for my abilities to be shut off because I was in my apartment, and up to that point, I didn't have any problems. But I was in my apartment, and I remember one of my guides was there because it felt very familiar, but I didn't know it was a spirit guide. I just knew that it was one of my friends growing up, my invisible friends. Right. So I heard my name audibly in my ear, and it was in my right ear, and I said, "Say it again." And I heard Kelly. And then I thought in my head, well, if you really knew me, then you'd know my middle name. And I heard Kelly Ann. I was like, oh, and I'm like, shut it off. Done. Right. So that's when I shut it down. And it did. It shut down. And then I remembered shortly after Stephen was born, I said, you know what, God, I remember that ability. I was scared. I was immature. I didn't know at the time what was going on, but I feel like I'm an adult. Go ahead and turn it back on.
Ta-da.
Yeah.
Ta-da. Remember, you asked for it.
Yep, that's exactly it. Angels were like, really? Let me just show up in your room. Like, oh, right. Yeah. Yeah. So it's kind of, it's strange because, I mean, he was maybe 4 months old. And I mean, here he is. I'm 18 years old now. So I'm just like, wow. So I've been on this journey for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. And back when I was going through it, I had nobody to talk to. So, because everybody thought I was crazy or bipolar, or they make meds for that. I'm like, no,
this to me, this is all new. So I can't imagine what it was like. Because even now, when I talk about it, when I first learned that I had abilities, I was kind of quiet about it. I'm not really quiet about it anymore.
Yeah.
Whether they like me or not, I can care less. You know, if they think whatever, I don't care. This is who I am. But I work for the government, so it was a little different to kind of really open that up to them. But I have, and they've pretty much accepted it. They look at the beard and the mohawk and think it's a whole match set. So it just kind of comes along. So I'm gonna get into Melanie's question now, since I've kind of taken up enough time, and I see a lot of messages popping up. And I am gonna let people know that are in the audience, when I bring the message up like this and I read it out loud, it is not only for you, but it is also because I know a lot of our audience listens to our show, but they don't watch it because they're at work or whatever else, which is why I read these out. And then they can also see it when they come back for the rewatch if it's recorded. So Melanie's asking Kelly, you talked about how the older generation's contracts are coming to an end. Can you tell me what ages you think are going to be going?
Oh, it doesn't matter the age. That's irrelevant. It depends on if their contract is up. So I just know that we're going into kind of a new era here. So when Pluto changed signs the way that it did, which only happens, like the last time that happened was back in 1777.
Yeah.
So I just know that it'll end about the 4th of July, but there's a period between about March to that 4th of July point where there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be leaving, but a lot of babies being born. Mm-hmm. So, but that also includes animals too. Oh, and it sucks when we have those periods of mass exodus. And I hate to do the doom and gloom. I'm not a doom and gloom person, but I want my enlightened people to understand that when it's their time to go, let them go gracefully.
Yeah.
It's the end of their contract. Let them go home.
Yeah.
So they're just going home. They'll hang out until you get there. It'll be fine. But
Yeah.
it just stinks for those that are still here. But this is where we're getting a lot more pressure to figure out what our purpose is.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but all in all, I just think that, and for there, it seems like I said, we always have this weird exodus once in a while, especially with new eras that happened back in December 2020 as well. So we have these different points where there's some mass exodus points. Okay. So. Mm-hmm.
I think it's Darce W. Kelly, are you able to communicate with people who are in the hell space or only communicate when they make final destinations to heaven?
That's a legit question. I honestly cannot go that low. You have to be able to go really high and really low to talk to somebody in that space. Demonologists can do it. I can't go that low. I can go high, but I can't go that low. And oftentimes there's only honestly been maybe 5 readings in the thousands of readings that I've done over the years that, my spirit guide or their spirit guide will come and say, listen, unavailable. I'm like, oh, so I just could say, sorry, can't talk to your person. Here's your money back. And they often know why. They're like, oh no, I know. I figured that. So, and it's not what people would necessarily think. One person got into the occult and black magic and stuff like that. Another one was a weird murder-suicide pact. So it's not always just like murder and stuff like that. Not necessarily. So there's different reasons. The other 3, honestly, I think were possessions. So, but it's a rare bird, very rare bird for me to have to tell my person, listen, I'm sorry, I can't talk to him right now. Yeah. So it's very rare. It honestly is. Yeah. Most of us go to the light. So even atheists, God's like, you forgot, just come home, would you? Like, it's fine. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just going to post this really quick because this is a reminder to me and to you. Debbie is telling me, Tom, Kelly would probably be the one to ask about the Akashic records because I have questions about them. So I'm going to ask you about them later on. So just so you're aware. And Lori does say, Dad's birthday was last Friday. He would have been 85.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So that absolutely was a message.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Melanie is also asking, I have recently, since about December, I have started rocking back and forth during meditation and while I do Reiki. Why is this? It feels unnaturally when I try to stop the rocking.
Don't let yourself rock. Don't stop it. Don't. It's actually a really good thing. What you're doing is that you're physically, in a weird way, getting your physical body back into alignment, not only with your chakra system, but your Merkaba or your Merkaba field, because your aura spins like a Merkaba. And so oftentimes when you're sitting there and you need to get realigned because maybe the energy got heightened or you unblocked something or you worked on a trauma or you had an aha moment, your body has to get back into alignment, mind, body, soul, right? And so oftentimes you'll sit there and you'll feel like you're swirling or you'll feel like you're rocking back and forth this way or this way. And you're like, what is wrong with me? I'm like, it's just you getting back into alignment. So it's natural, but it doesn't feel natural because you're looking around going, is anybody else seeing me do this? Good Lord have mercy. So
yeah, to me, I call that the gyroscope effect.
Yeah.
I've actually heard that term from somebody else.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. And it is weird. I still do it once in a while. If I have something that I really figured out, especially from like say childhood, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's why I still react that way. It's because of this. And I have that aha moment. It seems like about the next 3 days, I'm like, I'm doing one of those again. So but like I said, it's just your body getting back into alignment with the body, mind, body, soul connection, if you want to think about it that way.
Right. I'm not fully sure what this question is, but I'm going to ask you because maybe you know about it. But Rosie states, good evening, kids. Sorry, a little late. And if you have answered this question, my apologies. Will this trip to the moon happen?
Trip to the moon.
Yeah. So I don't know if you knew if that was something for you or
I'm not sure what's meant by that. I'm not sure.
Yeah. So Rosie, if you can kind of explain a little more.
Give the details.
Yeah, give a little more details and I will repost that question as well. Um, Primal is asking, Kelly and Tom, do you feel it's possible that the veil resides inside of us, and the more light we embody, the perceived veil thins?
I love the way she put that because it's so true. Because the veil is quite literally past your aura.
Right.
What you see is like, if you think about it, whatever's past your auric field, that's the veil in itself. The higher you vibrate, the more that auric field gets pushed out, but so does everything else. That's why I'm like, it only brings you a little bit closer to it in a weird way.
Right.
So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And that's interesting that this comes up, because the way that was put and the way you described it is actually how I describe multiple dimensions or other dimensions, how close they are to our actual dimension. They are less than a quarter of a width of an actual atom.
Yep.
In size away from us. That's how close they reside to us.
Yep.
And and I give that as a physical visual effect for people to understand how close other dimensions, interdimensions, multiple dimensions sit, right? And that's why we're so easy to cross over sometimes, because they're that close, and that's how they happen. So it kind of ties into the same thing with that question about the veil with us.
Yeah.
So
or like, oh, heaven is not some far off place. It's not. It's literally right. Like if you could put your hand out, it's really right past where your hand's at.
Yeah,
it's right there.
Yeah, you're not taking a plane trip to go to heaven.
No, you just leave your body.
Yeah,
that's it.
You're walking next door.
Yep.
Joe is asking, I've been hearing for ascension and raising your vibration to focus on the upper 3 chakras. What are your thoughts?
To me, raising your vibration is emotional. So, because remember, it's a mind, body, soul connection. So your emotions ultimately are your thoughts. They're indicators of what you're thinking. So if you want to raise your vibration, it's simple. Be happy. Be happy. Yeah. That's it. And if you're happy, what it gets the body in a place of allowance to heal if it's broken. And also that it gets the body in a place of allowance to get the chakra system reset, rebalanced, recentered. So every chakra has an emotion tied to it. And every chakra also has an endocrine system tied to it as well. So focusing on the top 3 isn't necessarily true, but for guys, again, their upper chakras are a little bit more difficult, whereas girls, their lower chakras are a little bit more difficult to manage. So in a way, yes, but raising your vibration just simply means to be happy. So, and let's be real, nobody is happy 24/7. That is just BS.
That's awful. Yeah.
Like, you're human. Are you going to stub your toe and get pissed? Of course you are.
Absolutely.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's what's going to happen.
Am I going to realize I have to stop and get gas and it's snowing outside? Yes.
It's blizzarding out. Yeah.
Right. I'm going to give this question to you as well, even though it's for me, but I'm also going to ask you the same question. So Zachy from my Twitch account, which is, I think this is my first question from a Twitch ever. So this is amazing. Tom, have you ever had an aura graph report done? Picture and details of your aura and chakras. I find them interesting. I have not, although I've been to a couple of the locations that you know as well here in Omaha that do them when we go to the Holistic Fest and stuff like that. I have not sat to have one done simply because by the time I get there, the lines are so long. And I'm not that patient person to sit there and wait 3 hours for an appointment. So, but have you had one done?
I have. And what's weird is that I can manipulate it. So if I want my aura to be all yellow, I can have it go all yellow. If I want it to be all purple, I can have it all purple. But you remember your aura is a lot like a mood ring. It does change. Yes. So it will change based on your emotions, based on the main emotion that you're holding on to. So
I was going to let someone know. I was going to let the audience know that because a lot of people think your aura color is your aura color. No. It really. I recently learned that I can read people's auras. I was talking to a friend online just like this, and all of a sudden I was able to see both their auras, and they were like, "How long have you been able to do that?" I go, "Since we started this conversation," and they were like, "That's amazing." And but yes, I had to tell them that I can. The way I see it though is I can see your constant aura is a color. But then I can see your auras as they change because your moods.
Yeah. As they go out.
As they go out. Yes. Yeah. So, and I had to explain that to someone. They're like, well, someone told me this was my aura. And I go, well, what mood were you in at that point? And they're
Right.
like, what? And I go, it really, and that's exactly how I explained it. It's your mood ring. It's our ability to see your mood rings as they happen.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what I
And
think.
some
I'm
people
like,
think that it's constant. I'm like, no, it
Right.
changes.
well, it's just same with like palmistry. If you read palms change every 2 weeks.
No,
So people like to think that that's
I did
stable
not know
too.
that.
I'm like, no,
Yeah,
at
I did not know that.
palmistry, your palms change about every 2 weeks. So absolutely.
Yeah, I did not know that at all.
Yeah.
That's good. Lori must be answering for something else we talked about. She says, makes perfect sense. I've had several rounds of study and working with crystals, and then life got in the way for my mission. Oh, so that's back to our can they wane?
Purpose.
Yeah. So, a Zhang is popping in. You hear me do all the morning. You hear me do all the time breaks for all the locations. When I do the Indonesia one, it's for Zhang because she's from Indonesia. So that's why I say good morning to her, because she's here in the morning watching us. So that's nice.
I was gonna say early morning. Yeah.
Yes, very early. Tanya is saying, what's the best way to find those who are also open to learning more and expanding our awakening?
The best bet is to try to go to maybe workshops. There's a few meetups out and about nowadays. There's a lot of people on Facebook, especially different Facebook groups. I'm loving that. But understand that if you're at a stage 4, which is the dark night shadow work, you're gonna go at it a little alone.
Yeah.
And it's that weird in between point to where you got rid of your old school friends and you're standing kind of isolated, and then these new school people will start to find you.
Yeah.
So, but don't get too discouraged with being alone for a little bit, because you got to learn how to be your own best friend first. And when that happens, that's all of a sudden these people just start showing up, and we're like, and they'll show up in a weird way too. They're going to be like, oh, hey, do you see 1111? You're like, oh, yeah, hey.
Right.
So you're like,
besties. Right.
Yeah.
Besties. And I do want to share this with people because I see it, and I remember it from our last conversation when you were on my show. For those of you who are watching Kelly and she talks and she moves her hands and you see the lights that are coming off of her, that's her. That's her energy. Just so people know, it's not a blur in the camera. It's not, your camera's not freaking out or anything else. It's simply the energy off of you that when you move, it has that effect that when you move, it shows like the drag.
does it?
Yeah. And it's really
that
cool.
happens a lot when I'm on stage too.
Oh,
I'll
does it?
walk when I'm on stage, and then people that are not normally clairvoyant will come up to me at that midway point in the show and go, okay, I don't see stuff, but I'm seeing stuff. I'm like, tell me what you're seeing.
Yeah.
So,
and I want people to know, because when you move your hand, it looks like you have 4 from the follow. And that's normal. I just want people to know that's normal for her. That's just who she is. So,
and I try not to talk about angels, because they'll show up too, and you'll see a bunch of weird orbs. And
I've already seen 2 around you. So just so you know,
they usually show up.
Yeah, I've seen 2 of them so far. But I can see them like you can see them, I think. So so it's a little different. Melissa, if you can hear and feel things, what do you call that? Is it a type of ability?
It is. Yep. Yeah. So to be able to hear things, that's called clairaudient. That's associated with your throat chakra. And it's a lot of times when that starts, it feels like you're talking to yourself. And you're like, did I just have a damn conversation with myself? And you realize, no, did I? And then you try to remember what you just talked about, and you can't remember what it was. So that's usually clairaudient right there.
Right.
The other one is to feel things. That's clairsentient. People that are highly clairsentient are my empaths. So empaths and clairsentient they go hand in hand. So there's clairsentient, and we got to include psychometry in that too, which is the ability to hold an object and know where it come from. Right. Yep. So you have to include that in the clairsentient too. But my empaths are naturally clairsentient.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what my wife is. So, and it's really tough being a high school teacher for her to be in that environment all the time. So
most of my enlightened empaths are bailing. They're the ones that are leaving the school system because they can't handle it. It's getting too hard. Yeah.
I'm going to bring this question up. You've kind of answered it in the past, but I'm going to bring it up again because there's more specific to it. Kara is asking, hi, Tom and Kelly. So there will be a max exodus. How many do you think? So she's trying to see if you have a rough guesstimation.
I honestly don't know. I just know that every family will be affected. So somehow, some way, every family will be affected.
Yeah.
But I want to include pets on that too.
Right.
So like I said, they're part of the family too. So
yeah.
But that includes me, that includes everybody. So that's, I'm like, we're all going to be personally affected by this, but that's where I'm like, remember your faith, let them go in grace, and they'll give you a sign. They always do.
Okay. So I think this might be more, oh yeah, I have both of these in here. Remember Rosie asked earlier about going to the moon. Laura responds, they just announced for going to the moon next year. And Rosie followed it up with, well, I heard that NASA is sending a mission either to the moon or close to it. So that's where the question of, are they going to make it to the moon or not, came from. And then Zachy also responded with, NASA plans on sending 4 people to travel around the moon.
This is such a loaded question because I know way too much. It's kind of like, if you really think the moon is uninhabited, no, it's not.
Yeah.
And depending on which species is there and if they have permission, then okay. So it gets pretty deep quick, but yeah. So that's where I'm like, oh yeah, did we really land on the moon on the 60s? No, we didn't. So that's why this is so exciting that we get to go around the moon. I'm like, why is this so exciting all of a sudden? Oh, because it's actually going to happen this time. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, Nikki and I get into these conversations because of my military background, and she's like,
Yep.
So, and she also posted, it's on the news. They have announced the next 4 people to go to the moon under Artemis. So okay, and so kind of jumping around, Shelly is saying, yes, I have jumped timelines recently. Yeah, and that happens. There are tons of reports about people who are just driving down the roads, and then all of a sudden they go to a town that they're so used to going to, but when they get there, everything looks the same except for the people or something else. But then they pop out on the other side and they're back on the road where they were before. And that could be a multiverse jump, or it could be a timeline jump or anything else, but that's how that happens, because they are so intertwined. And I tell people, when we look at the magazines that people always make fun of, and you see the picture of the guy holding the cell phone back in the 1950s, guess what? That is most likely how that happened. He was sitting on a cell phone and the timelines intermingled, and he was just happened to be there. And that's why you don't see him anymore, because it was such that split second, but they just happened to get that 1 in a million shot.
Yep, absolutely.
And that's how that happens. So Don't be surprised, and don't think that those magazines are totally bogus.
Absolutely.
Some of it could be, but for a lot of it, there's some truth into it. So take what you will out of it. Rosie says that I have and was told I am indigo.
I'm indigo.
Are you?
Yep, you are too, Tom. So what an indigo? So there's basically 3 types of intuitive people, and these indigos are we're here to destroy the old system with truth and integrity. That's our job. It's our children's job to rebuild what we're here to destroy. And so now that our kids are getting a little bit older, we got these rainbow kids coming in, and they're able, our children are able to have children themselves. So now these new rainbow kids are coming in that are like peace-loving little hippies.
Right.
That's us indigos, and I'm kind of old. I'm 47 I'm kind of an old indigo. But basically when we all died in like World War II, we came back as peace-loving little hippies. Well, those hippies were the first generation, or scouts, if you will, of the indigos. And they kind of got burnt out on too much LSD and weed and daily responsibilities, and the Vietnam War happened, and they kind of went to crap. So then they ended up having kids, which is people like me. And that's why we're considered now front runners of indigos. So that's why you can't really bullshit an indigo, because we'll cut you with truth and integrity. Yeah. We'll cut you.
Well, see, this is why I love the show, because I just learned stuff about myself too. So that's amazing. So thank you for that. I did not know. That's good to know. And the fact that we're the ones who's supposed to destroy the stuff before our kids build it, I am definitely the right person for that.
Yep.
We're
Yep.
definitely built for that line of
We're
work.
like, that's what, but we're known for our truth, and we're
Yeah.
done with the lion. We're
Yeah.
done with the BS. So, and now us indigos have been working in those systems, or we're infiltrated in those systems. And now we're becoming the bosses, the managers, the CEOs, and we're kind of here to destroy those systems. That's why I've been telling people, make sure that, they're like, well, what can we do? And I'm like, support the people that are here to make those changes, the people that are going against the school boards, the people that are going against the medical, the people that are trying to set the government right. So those are the people we need to support.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see that.
Because they're the change makers. They're trying to make it happen. We need to support them.
That's very cool. I did, like I said, I had no clue. So thank you. My day is done. I learned something today. Good night. Lori states that she has a friend who can see aura colors, and she had me put one finger on her shoulder, and then she could see it too.
Yeah,
that's really cool. Yeah.
The other thing that I can teach my students too is that if you're naturally clairvoyant, all you have to do is kind of do hair of the dragon really quick. Put your forehead and the back of your palm and your palm on their forehead just for like 2-3 seconds, then take it off, and their third eye kind of opens up for a good five minutes or so. And they're like, "Is this what you see all the time?" I'm like, "Yeah, welcome to my world." They're like, "Nope." They're like, "No, I don't want that." I'm like,
yeah. So Primal is saying, concerning the aura photos, when my son was little, he had a column of white light streaming up from the top of his head with a halo.
Yeah, that his crown chakra was absolutely open. Yep. And most children, especially under the age of 10, are going to be naturally intuitive, and they won't turn it off. That's why we got to change the school system for our kids.
Yeah. Yeah. Rita is saying, why are only some people waking up and others are blind?
Because they haven't done the work.
I'm like, choice? I mean,
they haven't done the work. Yeah. So in a weird way, that's where I keep telling my enlightened people, I'm like, you will learn as you continue to become more connected, more spiritual, that you can't help unenlightened people as much as you want to help them. You can't.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's like we want to bring our friends and family with us, but this is a personal journey. Yeah. And you can't. They either have to learn how to catch up, or they're going to get left behind. It's A or B, and that's out of your control.
Yeah, absolutely.
It sucks, but yeah.
Melanie's going back. She says, "Thank you. I am at a stage 4 and feel so alone. I'm hoping in my small town of North Platte, I can start finding enlightened people." Melanie, I am going to make a suggestion for you. There are sites out in Nebraska, and some of them are just listed as paranormal. Like Nebraska Paranormal is listed out there. Go out to that site and just become a member of it, and start looking to see what people are talking about. And you will find people in your area that will resonate with you just by going to that site. And those are the people you can start reaching out to start building those bonds and those connections with. And if they're in that same point, they will reach out to you and respond to you as well, because they're in that same point where they're feeling the same. And they're looking for someone to turn to start building that new community, that new family. So just go out to stuff like that. If you have a North Platte site, go out there. I know we have an Omaha paranormal site here. I know we have I'm part of the Nebraska paranormal site. I'm part of a few of them in our local area.
There's a good one in Scotts Bluff too, Melanie. There is. That's how I started. I started out reaching out to paranormal groups because I'm like, at least they kind of have some link.
Right.
And it turned out, that's why I started out as paranormal research. Then I went into Reiki healing. Then I went into psychic readings and mediumship readings. Now I'm a teacher. So that's where I started, because I, much like you, Melanie, was like, who in Western Nebraska is going to help? Like,
right. Yeah.
Farmer Brown ain't going to help. Like, you got to find some people that at least are in this situation. So I started out with paranormal research too.
And know also that if you can get out to some of the, even if you travel to some of the places every once in a while, like the Holistic Fest and the Mystic Fest and stuff like that, and contact people that are there, even though we're not right in your neighborhood, we're right here online and we have the same connections. So you can reach out to people like that as well. It doesn't have to be a face-to-face conversation for a friend.
Right. And Nebraska isn't that big. Everybody knows somebody.
Right. Like, everybody knows someone. So yes. Yeah. So that could be something that you may want to try. I know what this is for. Zachy says, yep, I saw the two also. So those are 2 orbs I talked about. I saw earlier with you. I did not see them as orbs. I knew that's what they're supposed to appear as, but I saw them as angels. But yeah, I figured if people paid attention, they would have saw the 2 orbs because one shot from lower left up through you and the other one dropped down next to you. So yeah.
They do that.
Yeah, they just jump in. Tiffany is asking, Kelly, you have mentioned hearing and left ear means one thing, right ear means something. What if you hear or feel deep in between?
That's almost always a solar flare. So, and some of those will knock you on your butt. So when I can tell when we have a class X, because I'm sitting there and then this ear will start and it's like, and it goes like, I swear, inside of my brain. And then all of a sudden I'm just like, you kind of get dizzy and you're like, oh, I got to sit down a little bit. And then, and oftentimes if you follow me on Facebook, I'm going to say, holy shift.
Yep.
And a lot of times I'm waiting for the information to come out of what kind of a solar flare this was, because I felt it. And usually within about 30 minutes, I can figure out, somebody said something about it.
Right.
So
right.
Almost always when it knocks you like that on both of your ears, or it does that, that's almost always geomagnetic storm, solar flare, or a Schumann resonance spike. So, and that happened a lot in March, a lot.
Right.
We had a lot of solar activity.
We talked about the mass exodus before, but Lori is asking, has it already begun?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, it has. Yep.
Okay. And Nikki is asking a question. She says, I have a question. I've been told that in one of my past lives, my third eye psychic ability was very strong. Many people came to me to see, but I got so exhausted. So she's saying she and I, are thinking that this might be holding her back in this lifetime. My question is, how can I heal something like this from my past lives? Because everyone tells her she's supposed to be more than what she is right now, and she should be seeing more, and she's very much more of a psychic than just her empath is giving her now, but that she's blocked off for some reason, and it's not letting it come through.
It's believe it or not, your third eye is just fine. It's the heart chakra. With you being an empath, when you connect.
Oh yeah, she does.
You have to be able to not. I will be real. That was very difficult for me to learn when I'm reading somebody. I am not going to sit there and give you a tissue if you're crying. I'm going to keep doing my job because I have a job to do, and I cannot empathize with you and your crying. And that's where, Nicole, you have to be okay with understanding that is their path, and it is not your job to rescue them with the train coming down the track. You got to be like, okay, do you see the train? Oh, you don't. Okay, then you got to back off, let them get hit by the train, and then only offer advice if it's asked of you. If you're continually giving advice, you're going to be exhausted. And so this life, I'm guessing that you really need to work on balancing and learning how not to be overly empathic, which is extremely difficult to do, because the more empathic you are, the more you burn your candle at both ends, energetically speaking. So that's when I'm like, I really had to learn that when I'm reading somebody, I don't do it with my heart.
Yeah.
I do it with my third eye.
Yeah.
Or I do it with my crown or my throat. I do not do it with my heart. And so oftentimes, if you've noticed that when I'm doing like even a live audience reading, or when I'm doing a individual reading, I almost always wear rose quartz, because I don't want my heart chakra to just go huge. It keeps it small and in check, like what I need.
Yeah.
So, because I can't empathize, again, I'm not going to offer tissue because you're going to suck it up and not cry. And you need to do that. Mm-hmm. So I had to learn in a weird way that everybody is on their own path for their own personal reasons. And I don't need to empathize with that to see that. I can sympathize, but I don't need to empathize. And that's a big difference.
Yeah. Yeah. And she's one of those teachers where all the kids come to.
Oh, she's going to have the naughty kids come to her.
Because they do. They do. They all come to her. Fine. And they're all really good for her. They're all really good for her.
Yeah. They would love her because she gives out that mama hen energy vibe. And those kids need that because they're not getting it at home.
Right.
So she knows that. And weirdly enough, those kiddos aren't going to drain her. It's the adults.
Yeah.
It's the adults that will.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Irene is asking, do we all have psychic abilities? Yes.
If you're listening to us and we don't piss you off, yes.
Yes. Exactly.
It's kind of like if you see 1111, yep, you're psychic.
There's everybody has the abilities to have some form of ability. It doesn't mean it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a psychic ability, but everybody has abilities.
Absolutely.
And she just turned her camera off. Why? I don't know. There she is.
Sorry. Somebody's trying to text me and I'm like, no.
Yeah. But yes, and
we do.
So we all have the ability. We all have the ability to have abilities. If it's psychic or not is another question. But
it's teachable. And that's why I have Enlightenment Academy. It's absolutely teachable. It is. Now, unenlightened people have psychic abilities too. I mean, don't get me wrong. They do. They get hit with something every once in a while that they're like, oh, damn, I think I need to call my mom.
What was that?
And then their mom fell or something. So unenlightened people have it too. But enlightened people can learn how to use it, to finesse it, how to turn it on, turn it off, how to use it to their advantage.
I was gonna say to use it to their advantage. That's a good one. So, Mr. Nighthawk made an appearance. Hello, Mr. Nighthawk. So, Mr. Nighthawk is a indigenous person out that is also. I don't know if you've seen Mr. Nighthawk, but he does a lot of stuff out there for YouTube and Facebook, and he does a lot of cryptid type of work. Cool. As well as paranormal and a lot of other stuff as well. So cool. One of my favorite people out there. So, yep. So I love watching him and listening to him. Kara is asking, we just got our genetic testing done. Does genetics affect my abilities?
No.
Yeah.
No. Now, it might block 1 out of the 5, depending on which chakra it's associated with, but it doesn't mean you can't work it out.
Yeah.
So, no.
So I talked about when you move your hands, you have that follow. And Brenda says, after you did the hair of the dragon, your fingers are really noticeable. So
I forgot. Yeah, I should do. Yeah. So I teach that to my students because, especially in Reiki, because they're like, well, it's oftentimes, how do you explain Reiki? I'm like, you don't explain it, you show it. And you do that by doing the hair of the dragon, like, which is just taking your fingernails, rubbing them together like this. And then holding your hands out about this far apart, and then having them put their hand in between your 2 hands, and they will feel that energy.
They will feel.
And they're like, whoa. And you're like, that's what Reiki is. And they're like, whoa, where do I sign up? Like, that's it.
Yeah. I think this was tied to an earlier question because someone asked, why are only some people waking up when others are blind? And someone down here said, define blind. So I think that might have been like
unenlightened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unenlightened muggles.
Yeah. And it says wokeism isn't spiritual enlightenment.
No, I just did that video today actually on TikTok. So I'm like, don't call me woke, because that's just, to me, I was listening to a politician say it, and it pissed me off, to be honest. I was like, it bugged me. I'm like, I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't represent woke.
Yeah.
I represent spiritual enlightenment, awakening, sure, but I'm not woke. And they use that as like a diss. And then I went to go be like, what in their terminology, what do they think it means? And I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Willingly, what is it? Willingly. Oh, geez. I forgot it already. I'm having a brain fart. Sorry. I'm just like, whoop. I just thought about 4 other things just now. So sorry.
Tiffany's asking, also, can your third eye be somewhere other than center? I often feel vibration to the left of my eye, and when I start meditating and tuning in.
Yep.
Yeah. Everyone points to here, but that does not mean.
No. And remember, it can be here and here as well. It's also in the back of your head. So sometimes when you first start opening up your third eye, your back of your head and your neck hurt real bad, and that's part of it opening up. But I always call that like your third eye need a little Visine. Just got to get centered a little bit. That's all. So it'll still work. It's just a little off. We got to put a little Visine on. Woohoo! Gets right back. So all good. But naturally, it is going to be more located or felt on the right side. And so when it gets realigned, you're going to feel it more on the left side. So, but for the most part, that's where a lot of times when you go through a spiritual awakening, you get the weird headaches like right here or right here. And it feels like a sinus headache.
Yeah, it feels like a sinus headache. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not. It's your third eye.
Yeah. Melanie says, recently my dad has been driving me crazy. He is so unenlightened. Does it get better being around those people?
It gets easier. Over time, it gets easier because you feel sorry for idiots. You do. You just feel sorry for them because you're just like, wow, you really don't get it. And a lot of times I'm going to walk away and be like, God, would you just please help them? Because I don't want to.
Yeah.
No. So, but it's the irritation is there because you're trying to get him to see things from your perspective on a mountain when he's in the valley. And you're trying to get him to look at all these beautiful things. And he's like, you're an idiot. And he's going to throw rocks at you to try to get you off that mountain back into the valley where he can see what you're talking about and to make him feel better. So that's a weird part of the process. And that's why we have to put up boundaries with certain family members, not to keep them out. It's to keep you protected.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Tedessa, cool name, says, I had the energy in my house cleared this past weekend, and she mentioned that the spirits and energies in my house were all accumulated on the north side of the house. Is there any reason for that?
It could be because maybe there is like water, because of water, limestone, electricity or electrical boxes oftentimes will be a place where spirit can try to use that energy they'll manipulate it to try to do something with that. So not necessarily anything other than that. Usually it's electrical. If not, maybe your well or your sewer is located there as well. So oftentimes we see those kind of, especially in really haunted places. 9 times out of 10, they're in an old brick building near water and a big old electrical pole is going above their house. And you're like, yeah, this one's going to be fun.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Yeah. So Nikki's mentioning for the North Platte, Kearney is having a Soul Fest on April 29th. Go there and at least join people that are in your situation. So that's another place you can go to hang out to.
Yep.
Rita's asking, what is mass exodus in your definition?
Oh, just people going home, unenlightened people dying and going home, or people that are enlightened. It just depends on their contract. We have certain exit points on our contract. So, if you're down to your last exit point, well, you're going to go home. Or if you choose to go home because of that exit point, I mean, you do that on a subconscious level. You do that when you dream at night. So you'll kind of check back in and be like, all right, do we want to hang around for this crazy crap that's going to happen this year? Yeah, why not? Okay, well, then you just get into a car accident where you just break your pinky. So
so William's sending me a message saying, Tom, I talked to an elemental last night that will be seeing you soon. I'm one of those who can actually see, talk to, and hear elementals, just like I'm see, talking, and hearing to you. So it's very cool. I actually have a feeling that I know what he's talking about because I've been having a lot of thoughts about elementals today. So that's kind of cool that he sends me that message. So because we both work with elementals. It's pretty cool. Julie's asking, should I be concerned about the weather control happening over Nebraska?
You can be concerned, but there ain't a damn thing you can do about it.
Right.
So, there really isn't. I mean, unfortunately, unless you're planning on writing your state senator or, this is the hardest part is where people, there's not much you can do other than take action. And that is, like I said, giving your opinion on Facebook is one thing, but writing your state senator and trying to pass a law or do something about it, that's where the action happens.
Yeah.
So other than that, just make sure that you're eating right, you're getting enough sleep, you're giving your body enough allowance to detox, and do what you need to do to take care of you. So I'm not too worried about weather or stuff like that. I mean, because again, this is out of my control. Yeah. All I can do is react to that. And I'm going to do that by eating my fruits and vegetables. Yeah. So that's what I'm doing.
Joe, I'm going to answer this question for you because I'm going to post it. Do you have a group or audio book or something? I love learning stuff. My brain is hurting. And when that happens, it's a good thing. So Joe, I know you're driving because I know you're working right now because we had this. I saw your post earlier. In the comments, and right now I'm showing it as well, in the comments is Kelli Miller's information. She has her Facebook site. She has a website that's just hers directly. Her YouTube is where you're going to find most of this stuff, like where she does her daily comments and her readings and everything else. So I would tell you, Joe, to go out and check out her YouTube site. If you just go out to @Psychic Medium Kelli Miller Omaha. Again, I posted it in the comments so you can all see it. That way you're not having to try to write it down really fast. But Joe, for you, go out there and check that out. You'll be able to follow her, like her, subscribe to her, all that wonderful stuff out there.
Yeah. I have quite a bit on TikTok too.
Oh yeah, you do have quite a bit on TikTok.
Shorter,
I forgot to grab the TikTok ones, but the YouTube ones are the ones that Nikki listens to for a while and stuff like that. So that's what I would tell you. If anyone is interested in hearing more of your conversations and what you're predicting, feeling, hearing, whatever else, that's the best place for them to go for you, I think. Rita is asking, how do you shield yourself when you can feel people's souls and intent demons at their core?
Well, it's I don't leave the house unless I have to. But if I do go to, say, Target or something like that, I'm going to protect myself first and foremost. I am not going to go around a bunch of unenlightened buttholes and not be protected. Right. So the first thing I'm going to do is bubble up, and I just imagine myself in a big white bubble. And then I just say something in my head like, all right, God, angels, please surround me with the white light of the Holy Spirit. And then I just imagine myself in a white bubble. Some days it's a double bubble, depends. So if you really want to shield yourself, put yourself in more of a disco ball and reflect that energy back. But I always have to tell people, especially my empaths, when you do that, expect the unenlightened people to be a little bit bitchier because they know that you're protected. And they know that they can't come into your energy field, and they get a little crabby. Yeah. So don't take that personally when that happens. It means that your shield's up just right.
Yeah. And I love telling people how I do this. So I'm going to share this with them because I always hear people have bubbles. Mm-hmm. And I love to let people get just close without being able to interfere with me. And so my image I have of myself is I am literally wearing a Superman, like a superhero suit that's skin tight, but mine is a impenetrable, almost like a reflective dragon scale, because you talked about being reflected off, but it is just completely impenetrable. But I will allow the person to get as close to me as they want so they can feel my energy and go, damn, and then just walk away quietly.
Yeah. And it's funny because when you really do that, you really, push that energy out like that. Oh, yeah. It makes people uncomfortable.
Oh, it does.
This is the one where they're going to come up to you then and go, you're really intimidating. And I'm like, no, it's because you're weak.
Yeah,
it really is because I know who I am. I know my connection. I know my energy. You don't know who you are. You don't know your energy. You don't know your connection. Therefore, I am intimidating to you, but it's simply put because you're weak. It's not because I'm intimidating.
And I bet you have the exact same effect I do. When I go out there, it doesn't matter where I'm at. Kids will always stop and look at me and smile and wave.
And they'll do that. And then they look at you here, then they look at you here, then they go right back to here. And you're like, I know what you're looking at.
They just all look up and stare at me. And so I've actually earned the nickname because of how I look and how I am and everything else, that people have started calling me Harley Santa. And because all the kids do that. They all stop and stare at me and wave. And all the parents are like, nope, not that guy. But the kids are like, but he's a nice guy, I swear.
Yeah. Well, the weird one was my kids were always really kind of upset that these other kids would always come up to me and grab my leg, or they would come up to me and they want to touch me.
They want to touch you, yeah.
And my mom, finally, Paige was like, why do they always touch you? I'm like, well, it's because I'm like, I give off that mom vibe.
Right.
The kicker was this little kid grabbed my leg and we were shopping somewhere and he goes, Mom. And I'm like, buddy. And he goes, Mom. And I finally, he looked up at me and I'm like, buddy, where's your mama? And he's like, he was so confused. And his mother, he was a black boy. His mom was black too. And I'm just like, and he was so confused because he was like, but you're my mom, but you're not, but I swear. So he got so confused. My kids were all like, I don't get it. I'm like, never mind.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, kids, the higher vibration you are, children are naturally attracted to that.
Yeah.
So it's strange though now when people are like, can you just hold my baby for a second? Cause he's real fussy. I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
and then I hold him for a little bit. They poop or fart and then they fall asleep. I'm like, here you go.
That's funny because one of my best friends, I call him Stack, but he has 2 kids, and him and his wife, whenever the kids were overwhelmingly fussy, we lived right down the road from him. He called me up, can you come over? And I would hold him and they'd play with my beard and then it would slow down and all of a sudden they'd just be asleep.
Yep.
And I was like, yep, that was it. And they're like, that's amazing. I need to know that's a trick.
Yeah. It's a good trick.
Yeah. Zaki is saying, in terms of finding your tribe in rural areas, it was not until Columbus, Nebraska, got some Reiki masters and a crystal shop did I finally run into people that understand. I enjoy Tom and Kelly's and others' informative videos to visually learn more since I am not a fan of reading.
Same.
Yes,
Audiobooks.
not at all.
Same.
Yep. Debbie is stating, I'm trying to learn. I am seeing duplicate numbers a lot these days.
Good.
I mean, at least 2 or 3 times a day.
That's
Yeah.
good.
My numbers, my 4 numbers, but they're always they're mostly in 1, 2, 3, 4 in that order. But those 4 numbers are always around me.
Mhm.
It's not like 2, 3, 4, 5. It's always 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 1, 2, 4, 4, 1, 2, 3, whatever it is. Those 4 numbers wrap around me so many times.
Yeah. So, and my number is 144. I have seen that since the day that I got enlightened, and that's the number that I see all the time. But I always have to tell my students that if you see a bunch of replicating numbers in one day, that means that you're vibrating at a really high energy level. Those are the days that you want to be like, all right, God, this is what I need. So, but because that's really how you manifest fast is when you're vibing high like that. That's an indicator that you're vibing really, really high.
Yeah, yesterday our number in our house was 4. Nikki held something up. Actually, we're out golfing, and it was like 444 yards, 444 yards. And then this morning, I looked, and our temperature gauge read 44.4 degrees and 44% humidity. So it's been 4s the past 2 days.
Yep. That's funny.
It's been crazy. So Deborah is saying, I have a selenite lamp. If I'm on the other side of the room, do I still get any benefits from it?
Not necessarily. No, it's more or less to help you. It charges up your crystals, but it really is nice for sleeping. So a selenite lamp is great to have. It's right next to your bed, especially when you go to sleep at night. So I have a double selenite lamp, like 2-pillared, and I have my bracelets on one, and I have necklaces on the other. And then I just I turn it up. That's the night light that I have.
Yeah. Yeah, I just bought Nikki one of the selenite towers.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Love.
Yeah, just got that for her birthday. Spoiled. See what's Jenny says, what's the ascension feelings everyone is getting right now?
A lot. Just over the last couple of days. Now, today it's been balanced out a little bit better, but a lot of people have been having the ear ringing, itchy thing. And a lot of just anger. A lot of anger is coming out. Just people are pissy and angry and they don't know why. And I'm like, it's a subconscious release. Get it out. Yeah. Even though you don't even know why you have that emotion. That's why I'm like, just scream in your car, get it out, and you'll feel a lot better. It's weird, but a lot of short patience, short fuses, and a lot of anger. Yeah. So, and I'm like, just get it out. Just release it. So that's been the main ascension symptom as of lately, just anger, believe it or not.
Yeah. Zaki is saying, speaking of Reiki, the master told me that I'm very connected to the underworld and that they loved that type of energy. Could you please explain what is meant by the underworld?
So we were talking about that earlier, how I can't necessarily talk to people kind of that are lower vibration like that. So that means to tell me that he would be able to do that. So you can talk to people that are of a little bit lower vibration. So maybe people that are in hell, or people that are in purgatory, or the ability to maybe even talk to ghosts, because those are a little bit lower vibration. So that's usually what that means, is that because in order for somebody to be a demonologist, you have to reach very, very high and reach very, very low. And I can go high, but I can't go that low. So, and almost always the best demonologists that I have found are short and squatty. They're like 5 foot something, and they're just bigger, but they can move that energy. They can handle it. I can't do it. I'm a weenie. I'm like, no, I don't have enough.
I haven't tried that, but I have the feeling I would be that person.
You'd be able to. Yeah.
Jennifer is saying, hi, I've been told by my friend that's a medium. I open the door for spirits to come in. How come I can't see or hear them?
You probably can. I think a lot of people just starting out like you think it should be this miraculous moment, and it's not. It's subtle as shit. So when I first started seeing things, you see them off to the corner of your eye and you're like, huh? And then you go to look and there's nothing there, but you know what you saw. So that's clairvoyance right there. You love to think you're just talking to dead people. It's not like that. It really isn't. So it's a lot of like pictures or images in your head. And then, like I said, clairaudient is more feeling like you're talking to yourself in your own head, but you know that you're not, but it feels like you are. So
right.
Yeah.
Sometimes it sounds like your voice, but you know that's not your answers you're giving.
That's right. And that's why that I have to tell people, write it down right away or say it out loud, because you are going to forget it, because this is all subconscious. This isn't conscious. So either if we write it down or say it out loud, then it gets then into the conscious brain, so we can remember that.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Tiffany, I didn't read the first part of it because I saw that you accidentally hit too early. She says, I had a situation where they thought I was having an AVM, and I wondered if it wasn't my third eye opening, but it's on the right side of my head near my temple and always there. I one day just heard in my mind that's what it was, not AVM.
Right. So because 9 times out of 10, when I'm talking to spirit, I hear them right here in my right temple. Yeah. I don't hear them in my ears. I hear them right here. So that's what I'm saying, is that when you first start to hear spirit, in my ear, this ear will get purple. So because there's so much energy transfer going on that it'll get purple here, and that's just for the clairaudient part. So when I open up my crown is when I really tap in, and then I get sweaty and all kinds of other stuff that your body does, because you're going from a low energy to a very high energy quickly. So your body does weird things in response. And so oftentimes, sometimes it's painful. Sometimes it's, it can be kind of very dizzying. Oftentimes it depends on, everybody's different. So it depends.
Yeah. Mine sound like it's right. The voices for me, they come right into the very center of my head. Yeah. It's like they're just taking that space and saying, I want to talk to you. So
and they do that now. So, but when I first started, it was right here, right on that right temple. And now the more you do it, the more you practice, it just kind of like, you're right. It just kind of goes up. Now I would say you're right. It's more like right in the middle of the head.
Like, right in the center.
Yeah. But when it first starts, it's right there.
Jessica has an interesting question for you. I'm in healthcare, but I also want to help people connect with their loved ones, but I can't hear or see spirits. How can I develop this? My strengths seem to be an empath and having vivid dreams.
2 ways. Number 1, meditate. Number 2, become a hospice care nurse. Hospice care nurses they have to have, most of them are enlightened, most of them are empaths, and they understand that transition, and that transition takes a certain person to be able to handle that, because that really is the closest thing to heaven that you're going to get while you're alive. Right. There's only certain people that can handle that. Most of my empaths, most of my nurse empaths can handle that. So if you really want to turn that ability on, I would say maybe consider that. And then lastly, maybe considering going into like a Reiki program or learning healing energy, because that might be just what you need to do to open that up. So oftentimes people don't, I suggest them take a Reiki class, not saying that you're going to use it, become a Reiki master, but once you understand how the energy kind of works and how you can actually feel it and move it through your body, then maybe we can start using that to your advantage at work. Right. So, and that's why I like to teach my Reiki classes as well, but especially that for my students, because I only do 14 at a time, so I can individually help each person so they can understand how the energy flows for them. So, because everybody feels something different. Some people feel heat, cold, wind, electricity, cotton balls, like everybody feels something different. So that's why I like to go through with my class, and each person then by the time they leave, they know what it feels like and how to kind of turn it on, warm it up, and how to kind of get away from that and tap it out.
Yeah, good info. Oh, you have a couple of crystal questions coming up here shortly. Okay. Rosie's asking, what does black obsidian and hematite do together?
That would be something that I wear going into Target. Yeah. So it's very grounding, so it stabilizes the root chakra, and then it also protects you from negativity. So love that combo. Yeah. So that's a good combo.
Yeah, I wear my my black obsidian and my shungite a lot together. So
Yep. Yeah. This is just a hematite bracelet. I think I wear mine a lot.
Nikki is saying, I have a crystal question. I heard someone say or read that you shouldn't wear clear quartz because since it enhances, then it could enhance the negative feelings or behaviors that either you are feeling or others. What are your thoughts on this?
That's actually true. It's a transmitter in a weird way. So I always tell people, if you're going to wear clear quartz, best be making sure that we're in a good mood. Make sure that we're in a good mood. And if you're not in a good mood, take it off. But it's okay if you do. Just make sure that you charge and cleanse it and kind of restart it a little bit. So, but it's an amplifier of energy, but it's also an amplifier of crystals too. So this is where it becomes really nice because you don't have to have the huge crystal. You can get a little tiny piece, get a piece of clear quartz, and it'll amplify that energy quickly. So, but in a weird way, that is true because it does amplify energy, but that also amplifies your attitude, your emotions, or your thoughts.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's terrible for me because my thoughts never stay in my head anyways.
Mine don't either. That's not with ADHD. No.
Right. A couple of people popping in saying hi. So Guy is popping in to say hi. And Randy is popping in to say hi as well. Another crystal question. What does it mean if you don't feel the energies of crystals, even strong crystals like moldavite?
Means you don't need it.
Yeah.
It means you don't need it. There was one time I was doing something at the store and I grabbed some bloodstone because I was moving it around and it zung me quick. And I was like, whoa, bloodstone? And I realized it was the first day of my period. So at any other time, it's never affected me or I could touch other crystals, but that one in particular, and it's not a high vibration one. It's not. It just, for whatever reason at that moment in time, that was the crystal I needed. So you're damn skippy. I put that one in my pocket.
Yeah.
But it just means that you got to remember, if you're vibrating at a high energy level, you don't need it. It's no different than me going to Sedona. Everybody's like, oh my God, Sedona's amazing. I'm like, meh. Yeah. I'm like, meh. Yeah. I don't feel it because I'm already vibrating at that energy or that frequency. Yeah. So, I mean, it feels good. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not like, I had one Asian guy the last time I was there. He comes running up there and he goes, do you feel it? Do you feel the energy? I'm like, no, but he was so happy.
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, I do. And he's like, isn't it wonderful? I'm like, yes.
Fantastic. Yeah.
He was so cute though. I'm like, oh.
I have a tendency to, so I wear this stuff, but mostly just because I like the looks of it, because I'm not a crystal person for myself, but I am one that can hold them and basically charge them and give them off to others so they can use it. I've been known to do that. I think that was one of the very first things that I awakened with was crystals, because when I used to be on an old investigation team, they would hand me their golden healers after they used them and say, can you recharge this? I'm like, absolutely. So I sit there and recharge it, hand it back, and they're like, oh my goodness, where's this energy coming from? And I'm like an Energizer bunny. But I can do it for a lot of things. Like I did it for one of my friends who was an empath, and what she did is she actually sat with people who were in end stages, just so they would have someone that would be there with them when they passed on, so they weren't alone. But she was an empath, and it was draining her, and it was making her very sick. So I actually had a bracelet that I took, and I put it on my wrist. I never wore it at all, ever. But for some reason, I put it on my wrist that day. I get in there. She tells me about this, and I took it off, and I held it, and I gave it the intention, and I charged it and handed it to her. I said, take this tonight. Let me know how it goes tomorrow. She came back the next day, and she goes, what did you do? I go, what do you mean, what did I do? She goes, I sat through that thing. She goes, I was with that person who passed. I did everything I normally do. I read to them. I made sure their pillows were taken care of. I made sure they're very comfortable. They were very, they knew they weren't alone. And she goes, but I had no energy leave me at all. I was not drained the next morning. I felt fantastic. And she's like, what? How did you do that? And I go, that's one of my purposes, is to help others out by being able to do this, because sometimes you need that. Right. I don't, but you do. And I don't. And again, it was one of those things in my head. I didn't know why I took that bracelet. And she went to give it back. And I go, no, that bracelet is for you. That's
yours now. That's right.
Yeah. And so she's like, okay, that's amazing. So I was happy I'm able to do that. So it's useful for me.
When I first started doing this, I thought it was really weird that people would either they're just like, I just want your energy. And I couldn't ever figure out, like, what are you talking about? And
right.
I'm realizing that whether somebody reads a blog or a book or watches a video, they get that hit, I
Right.
guess. Well,
Yeah.
but I
It
didn't
almost
realize
feeds to them.
yeah. And I didn't also realize that I'm not a hugger. I'm just not naturally. I'm not. And a lot of people are like, "Can I just hug you?" And it's hard because when I touch somebody, I got you red real quick. That's just kind of habit. But I didn't realize that when I'm doing that, I'm charging them. I don't get my energy drained, but I didn't realize I was charging them because they're like, "Oh my gosh, I got a hug," and I just felt really good for 3 days. I'm like,
and that's something else that we developed or that we figured out is when I hug people with an intent. If they're tired, if they're sad, if they're over anxious, I can take that from them.
Yeah.
I call it the John Coffey effect, like from the Green Mile.
Yeah.
So I can take it from them and they feel so much better, and then I can just release it to the atmosphere.
See, I'm not the empath, so I can't do that. But what I do is I give them the energy and make the icky energy go through their feet down into the earth. So I do the opposite. I push the energy. I don't even have to push. It's just more that naturally that just it does that. But
you're just overwhelmed with other energy, and it just has to go somewhere else.
Right. I'm not here. It's gonna go there. So
And for mine, I don't take it in. And actually, just like it hits my armor that I call
the shield.
It hits my armor, and then when we let go, it just slides off. And just disappears into the atmosphere. But they're like, that is amazing that you can do that. And it always amazed me because I am a hugger. And everyone's always told me I have the best hugs. I never realized why, but now that we're starting to understand it more, it makes a lot of sense.
So. And when you give hugs, you put your heart chakra to their heart chakra. So absolutely. And
it doesn't matter if it's an animal, if it's a child, if they lay across my chest in any way, like just put their head down, they will fall asleep. It's just that effect. Rosie is saying, I used to see a black shadow, but now I can't. Why is that?
Well, that's not a bad thing.
The
black shadows aren't always positive, so maybe that's not a bad thing. So, but it doesn't always mean it's evil or demonic, not at all. But it might be because maybe you're now vibrating at a higher frequency that you've literally vibed out of that lower frequency. So that might not be a bad thing.
Or maybe something cleared up that was going on that was there, and it just and you did something different that cleared it out. So now it's not there, kind of as like your black shadow. That's
not a bad thing.
Exactly.
That's not bad.
Primal is asking, is there any tips for remembering telepathy?
Other than meditation, I would tell you, pay attention to the subtle. I think that, again, people don't realize that a lot of your answers that you're seeking are in the subtleties. It's a quick aha moment. It's a quick flash of something. And you're like, well, that's weird. And then you dismiss it just as quick. I don't dismiss the subtleties anymore. I don't. I take that as, weirdly enough, as a sign. So, but like I said, I think a lot of people want these huge aha moments. And if you're expecting that, then you're missing out on 90% of the stuff that's actually happening, which is all extremely subtle.
There are
very subtle.
There are so many people that I tell, I'm like, look, if you're getting ready to lay down to go to bed and you have a thought like, oh, I forgot my keys. I'm not going to remember to grab them or I forgot this. I'm not going to remember to grab it in the morning. Oh, I'll remember it in the morning. And you don't do it. I guarantee the next morning you're going to forget it. Because that is something with you that is telling you that you need to do that right now or you're going to forget, whether it be a spirit guide, whether it be whatever. That's what it is. We lost Kelly.
Okay.
There she is. But yeah, so for me, that's a spirit guide. It's something there to tell you, hey, by the way, don't forget to do this.
One sec.
Okay. Can you hear me at least? Well, we can see Kelly.
Can you still hear me or no?
Yes.
You can. Okay, because I can't hear you. And
okay.
hang on 1 second. Babe, would you please tell Steven to stop calling me? I didn't tell him. Stupid me. So I don't know how to fix this.
Um, hold on, I gotta type her something really quick. So,
How about
Nikki,
now? Can you still hear me okay?
yes. Can you
I
hear
can't
us?
hear you, huh?
You can't hear me, huh?
Great.
Okay.
Fabulous. Okay, what do I got to do? Because I don't know what to do.
Out and back in.
Go out and come back in?
Yes.
Now, how the heck do I do that? So I got to stop my mic.
She'll be back shortly, folks, I promise. She was having someone who was calling in and it kept knocking her offline or away from her camera. So she doesn't have that ability to have that both. So, but she will be back because I sent her the link so she'll know how to get back in. I am seeing a lot of your questions. Melanie, I'm looking at yours right now. I'm going to wait for her to come back for this one, although I have an answer for this one as well, but she's our guest, so I'm going to have her give her answer. Because I had to deal with the same thing with somebody who is of the Christian faith, and they were having a hard time understanding the difference between Christianity and spirituality. Hey, we're back.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yay! I figured it out.
Okay, so Melody has a question, and I was just discussing it. I have been having a hard time explaining to my very Christian mom what I believe in. Have any advice? I believe in source energy, the universe, God are all the same to me, but she doesn't understand.
They won't.
Right.
They won't.
That was right.
I will tell you, my mother is the same way. And it took her, it actually took her to see me on stage with 300 people for her to realize I kind of knew what I was talking about. But you have to go kindergarten. If you're going to talk to your mom about this, you have to go kindergarten and understand that her beliefs are her beliefs. Yours are definitely going to be different because you don't have a bag over your head anymore. You're not in a world of illusion anymore.
Right.
So it's really difficult, again, from your perspective on your mountain, for somebody, and you're trying to explain the beautiful things that you can see and what you understand to somebody who's in the valley that only sees rocks, dirt, and mud.
Right.
So that's really tough. So the best thing I can do is to tell you, go be as patient as you can, but also try to understand that you're going to have to go as granular or as kindergarten as you possibly can. That's where I had to talk to my mom in terms of, well, she'd get so angry. I'm like, but Mom, you're supposed to love your brother and your sister. It's not a big deal. And she's like, oh, wow, I've just got to give you Bible quotes. I'm like, well, no, but that's how it's interpreted.
Right.
So
yeah, I will tell you, Melanie, that I never got that through to my mom. In fact, my mom was kind of in a stage of dementia before she passed on when I developed my abilities. So my mom did not understand, and she was very Christian, very Christian. My grandfather was a preacher. Her dad was a preacher. So we're not going to get through to her. But she understood it when she went to one of my medium friends who wanted to relay a message. And my medium friend said, do you know that your son can hear you? And my mom left her and came over to me and started talking to me. That's when my mom realized that it's not all what she thought it was.
Right.
It was from the other side, actually.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to say this one wrong, so I don't know how to pronounce that name. I don't know if she's just saying LA or La. So I'm not going to, but I am going to read her question. I'm a psychic medium. There are moments I'm so connected and moments I struggle to connect. Could it be my own energy that blocks it?
It's not only your own energy, but it's your attitude. So if you got drama going on in the day and you try to do a reading, ain't going to work. You have to literally be able to separate that out because you got a job to do. Yeah. So it doesn't matter what drama I might have had going on. I have to absolutely put that aside because I have a job to do. But even then, there were days that I would cancel readings or have to postpone them or reschedule them because I was not in a good state of mind. And because I had to put my dog down or something like that. So just understand that if you have drama in your reality, in your real life, it is going to make it extremely difficult for you to be able to tap in and do that job.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's tough. Yeah.
Absolutely. Joe is saying, as a paranormal investigator, I very often try to communicate with my ancestors for learning and whatnot. I've often thought to use crystals in conjunction with devices. What would you recommend?
I like for this one, I like lapis lazuli in particular. Then the reason why is because it stabilizes the throat and the third eye, so you can hear and see a little bit better. So I would say if you're to pick one crystal, go with the lapis lazuli, because that will really help you to open and stabilize those two chakras in particular, so you can be able to communicate with your ancestors a little bit more clearly.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Tracy is saying, a friend of mine and I have been interested in these topics together for a long time. We are enlightened. They claim the beginnings of psychic abilities, knowing things or hearing things. My gut tells me it's not true. Am I awful for not believing my friend? What is my problem?
Not at all. It just means that your experiences are, simply put, different than hers.
Right.
And the way that you interpret them are going to be different. And if she's a friend, she'll accept that.
Yeah.
She'll accept that. Just like you accept her as a friend, even though we don't always understand some of the shit they do, but they're still friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're like snowflakes. Not all of us are. There's no two of us alike.
No.
At all in any way, shape, or form.
Nope.
So that's just gonna happen.
No, that's why I'm like, it just, in the meantime, like I said, you keep working on you, and most unlikely, since she's more hearing and seeing things, you very well could be more clairsentient, which is the ability to feel things.
Yeah.
So that, I would say, focus on that one, because that's most unlikely your number one ability.
And your dog agrees.
Hang on one sec. I'm on a podcast, so Steven just got home.
Oh, okay.
And Claire.
Oh, okay.
And his girlfriend.
Ooh.
You gonna say hi?
Jason, what's up, brother? How you doing?
See, make him say hi.
What's going on? How you doing?
Oh, I'm good. How about you?
Not too bad. Good seeing you.
If you're going to interrupt, you're going to introduce yourself, right?
Right. I'm seeing a couple of these things further up, so I'm just trying to.
Yeah.
Some people are asking specific questions. I want to kind of ask these. Rita, she says, "Do I have a page with content?" And Nikki actually responds with this, saying, "I'm not sure what you mean by contact. He has his Facebook page, stuff I learned from Schoolbook, all of his past shows from the past year on here, YouTube." So if you don't mind, really quick, Kelly, I'm just going to post my banner really quick.
Go for it.
So people can see this. Here's my information right here in case you all want it. There's my Facebook stuff I never learned from a Schoolbook. I'm on Twitch, Stuff I Never Learned, and YouTube is at Stuff I Never Learned. That's how you can contact me. There's a way to reach out for me as far as email, chat, whatever else you want as well. It's all out there. Feel free to reach out to me as well. And since we're still here, for those who have not gone out to check, this is all of Kelly's information. There's a lot of it. Just so you know, I did post it back in comments near the beginning. So if you scroll back near the beginning of the comments on Facebook, or actually on any of them, because I posted to all three of them. I saw it posted to Facebook, YouTube, and to Twitch. So if you're interested in reaching out to Kelly, here's all her information as well. So you can go out and read back through the comments and get all her information. Going back to comments, because we have some other questions here. Rosie says, practicing my energy with my hands and messing with my cat, pissing him off. I guess it works.
It does.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. Then you know you're doing it right, Rosie, because I do that to my dog once in a while. My dog's like, really? Like he hates it. I try to do it. He will give me the look of death, like, seriously? Not now. Don't mess with my stuff. I'm fine. Like,
I'm good right now. Go away.
Yeah. But if it pisses your cat off, try to do a plant. Plants love it. They'll never not take it in. So
Yeah. And the response back to what you were talking about with the energy being blocked when she's doing readings, she said, I'm always afraid to cancel and feel bad, but it does make sense. Yeah, if you're not open to reading, it's going to be a bad reading.
Yep, it will. And it's only going to make you look bad in the long run. So I have done it. And if I have to cancel, I'm calling. And I'm like, listen, hey, something came up, whatever I say, I'm always going to blame me. I'm never going to blame them, of course. But I'm always going to be like, we need to reschedule this as soon as possible. I apologize. And I tried to do that as quickly as possible, because when I was doing readings back in the day, people would travel from all over. And so I really had to go with their schedule if something came up like that. It was a rare bird if I had to do it, though, because I had to reschedule. There were 6 people a day that I would read, so I'd have to reschedule pretty heavy, and it was hard for me to do.
That's hard to do.
So.
Yeah. So, well, I think this is going to be a great place to wrap it up. We've been going for about an hour and 50 minutes.
Yep.
So I'm going to go ahead and close it down here. I got through all the chats, so we actually did get to the end of the conversations. So I didn't leave any questions out that I know of. But again, because we're right here, I'm going to throw this back out there one last time for you folks, because if you do have further questions or comments, or you want to know how to get in touch with Kelli and maybe look into some of her courses she has and everything else, these are the ways you can get a hold of her. Out on Facebook, you can go to her website directly. Her website, if you go up to the psychickelli.com, that's the one where you're going to really get to where her courses are and everything else and stuff like that. If you want to look at her past comments, her podcast, everything else, check out the YouTube site. Her Facebook is kind of an all-encompassing. And if you want to look at just some really cool everything, go out to the Awakening store. They do have 5 locations under them right now, but they do have stuff online. And I'm going to tell you that Thursday, 7 Central to 9 Central, they are doing an Exotic Gems show online. And if you go out to the Awakening store site, right underneath the bottom one there, go out there, and if you click on the link, you can click on the interested, going, whatever else, and that will send you your reminder so you don't miss out on it. I had to do that because I'm actually traveling for work, and I didn't want to miss out on it, so I made sure I clicked on it so it would send me my notification. But this is going to be and it's not going to be Kelli doing it. It's going to be your husband, Eric. It's going to be doing it because it's all the exotic stuff that he has all the brain knowledge for and everything else. So it's going to be a really cool show that you may want to go check out. But other than that, I want to thank you so much for being on the show.
You betcha.
Oh my goodness, a ton of information. And I love having you on here. And you know me, I've already told you this before that I'm going to ask you to be a regular, like once every 6 months, kind of come on the show.
That works. I don't mind at all.
Because I think 6 months is a good gauge for us, because you always have so much that you do within that time frame that you can talk about that's new and everything else. And I think it's a good gauge and I mean, because you don't stop. I mean, I'm surprised you sleep. So I understand the vacation was very much needed. But thank you for coming on. If you don't mind, I'm going to put you backstage. Please stay there so I can talk to you a little bit.
Okay, sounds good.
But other than that, have a great night, and say goodnight to everybody.
Bye. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Yeah, there's a lot of people saying goodnight, thank you, and everything. I just didn't want to post them all up, but just though you have like 14 different comments saying goodnight over here. So I will be right back with you, and I'm going to close down the show.
Okay.
Thanks. All right, everyone, that's the show. Thank you for watching. It was a great night. I really appreciate her energy and all of her knowledge. Thank you so much for the audience. I cannot thank you, audience, enough. I tell them, you, everybody who's in my audience, as much as I can. Without you, this show would not exist. I love the fact that you are so interactive with my guests, because that's what makes the show. I can sit here and I can introduce them all I want. They can talk all they want, but unless we actually get interaction from you, the show just kind of goes one direction. But you, by asking the questions and making the comments and giving us different avenues and paths to discuss, it really makes the show more educational and more exciting. So thank you all for coming on. Feel free to follow my show if you like it. There's my information again on Facebook, Twitch, as well as YouTube. I do fall under Stuff I Never Learned from a Schoolbook, or Stuff I Never Learned on those. Please come out, like, follow, share, as well as you do for Kelli's information, which is right there. Make sure you go out and like, follow, share her stuff as well, because she's an absolutely amazing person. I do have on another guest next week. Stand by 1 second, because I always forget to look it up beforehand. But I should have it hopefully right in front of me here. And I'm going to see if I can find my guest really quick. Next week, I have on a lady by the name of Amber Jocelyn. She is a paranormal investigator as well as a medium. So she's going to be another good one to come watch. And I will be posting out a listing shortly with all of her information, so you can start watching her show next week. Other than that, thank you for watching. Have a great night. Have a great week. And we will see you all next week. Stay safe. Much love. Bye.